all that a little bit later on. Now, college football's USA Today. What is USLBM now? What does that mean?
I think that's the sponsor.
Oh, okay.
By the way, USA Today, I should have done this today, but I wasn't quite ready to roll it out. They're a sponsor of the show now.
Well, why would they not be on a day we release their coaches poll?
Yeah,
Paul?
that would be a good idea, but I didn't have the graphic ready.
Playing hard to get with them or something?
No, I just didn't have the graphic ready.
So here's the top 25. Now, we're going to go piece by piece on this. The chat room, good to have you with us today. The text line is 254-339-1122. Here are some nuggets. First of all, Georgia being number one. I didn't know if it would be Georgia, Oregon, or Ohio State, but I thought it would be one of those three. Here's the thing about Georgia. The last time that somebody was ranked as number one in the coaches poll, preseason poll, that won the national title was 2017 Alabama. Now, you know, that's all. These are trends for some reason. They were ranked number one in 17, and they won the national title in 2017. Also, number two, Ohio State, who was actually listed in some ways on that underachieving list. We'll get to that when we have Rittenberg on today at 4. Paul, let's do the top 5, and then we'll go from there. Oregon at 3. They're getting a lot of love, and deservedly so. Texas, right about where I thought they would be, 4 or 5. At number 4, and it's the highest that UT has been ranked in the coaches poll to start the year since 2010. Of course, that was the year after they played for the national title. And then Alabama. Now, I think everybody, Garrett, if I had LSU at 5, would you be happy?
No, I mean, that'd be way too high.
No, but I mean, would you, but
I mean,
okay, because you're realistic.
Yeah.
Paul, if I had FSU at 5, would you not be happy at least that they're getting that kind of attention?
Yes, but I would think it's probably a little bit too high.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, we won't even go to my favorite team because they're not ranked or even among receiving votes that I know of. Alabama, it is the first time, think about this stretch, since 2009, the year they won the national title, that they were not ranked among the top 3 in the preseason poll.
Yeah,
that's just an amazing streak, but we knew that already, I guess.
I'll say this, and I'll duck my head and wait for the thundering boos from Tuscaloosa. Not that I don't think they're a top 10 or 12 team, but given all that they lost and the fact that they do not have Saban-level depth right now. Now, Kalen DeBoer is recruiting his butt off, but they don't have, because they lost a lot of those guys who came to play for Saban. Saban left. They went other places. So they lost a lot of depth. Kalen DeBoer's done a good job of keeping most of the roster that, you know, was outside of that together and bringing in pieces. But they don't have the Saban level depth anymore. So I'm not ready to just pencil them to top 5. Now, if you want to tell me they were 8th, I'd go, okay. I mean, that I buy more than 5th right now, but I'm more of a seeing is believing kind of a guy, and I'm curious about how they respond with having lost as many people as they have for the first time in 17 years.
All right, that's the top 5. Let's go to the next level. How about this with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin? Highest that they have ever been ranked since the coaches poll began back in 1991.
Well, and they should be ranked high because they spent a lot of money to get there.
11-2.
Yeah, they were
but
very
the highest they've been. They started the coaches poll in 1991. Remember, it was the Associated Press and UPI, which I think still might have been the coaches. I don't remember. But that's the highest they have ever been ranked. Everybody seems to be pretty much in on Ole Miss.
Now, if they're 11-2 this year and don't make the SEC tournament or the title game, then they're fine. They'll be or 10-2. They'll be in the playoff. But it's where it comes to Ole Miss is the two were not, you know, one good one and one team that's equal to you. The two were the two best teams they played all year. So they need to make sure that they're one of the best teams and they're not losing to that. They've got to be on that level. But they certainly, given all that they've done to the roster, if not now, when for Ole Miss with Jackson Dart coming back, with all the depth that they have. And I know their depth has been called into question. I'll say it again. Lane Kiffin did something pretty sneaky smart this year where not only did he go out and recruit the transfer portal and they spent a lot of money there, of the top 25 JUCO players available in the country, he got like 11 of them.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He got a good chunk of JUCO guys, which a lot of them aren't going to start, given who their starters are going to be based on the transfer portal numbers. But he's got some depth now of guys who are ready to go and who are upperclassmen.
Well, the junior college Bill Snyder really helped fulfill their move from what was awful for years into what they started to do in the mid-'90s by getting junior college players. And every once in a while, if you're fortunate, you get a Michael Bishop, or if you're Auburn, you get a Cam Newton. Or others, like Nebraska got Mike Rozier, who was a junior college player back in the 80s. All right, so there's Mississippi. Number 7, Notre Dame. And it's weird because it's, first of all, they're independent. I know they play an ACC schedule among others, but it seems like to me that they're under the radar.
Well,
but yet they're in most everybody's top 10, so I can't say that, because most everybody has them in the top 10, but it just seems like you don't hear much about Marcus Freeman and the Irish.
This is the Riley Leonard factor. Now, they did lose their starting left tackle today, which might affect this overall. But we'll see what kind of depth that they have there behind him. But, look, Riley Leonard on that team with the players that they have is certainly worthy of a top 10 vote, but Notre Dame's problem is has never been hype. They're always hyped. It's lately they've lost a stupid game at the beginning of the year that they shouldn't have lost, and then even though they may close really strong, that game that they shouldn't have lost is an albatross around them, and it's another disappointing year for the Fighting Irish.
Well, they played Texas A&M early on, and we have a note about Notre Dame. Let's go ahead. You don't have to put the tweet up, Garrett, but Notre Dame's offensive tackle, who's the starting left tackle for them, is out for the year with a torn ACL. There we go. Notre Dame offensive tackle. I don't know if he's a left or right tackle. Jaguar is out for the year, season ending, after an upper body injury that suffered in practice over the weekend. So that is a note about Notre Dame. Back to the poll at number 8, and they're in the news and have been for the last couple of days, really for the last several months. Michigan is at number 8, unbeaten, ran the table, won the national title. Sharon Moore, the head coach. Harbaugh's with the Chargers. And then, of course, there was the ESPN article that we will dig into. Here's a note here, Dan Murphy, that Sharon Moore could be facing NCAA penalties related to that Connor Stalions investigation. Maybe even as much as 1 of 7 on staff that could be involved. And I don't know if this is like something that's different, more evidence, and now the NCAA is going to try to drop the hammer, although their hammer's usually like about as hard as a marshmallow.
Yeah, based on reading it, it sounds pretty egregious. And all the things that a team that said that, no, we're not cheating, but was actually cheating would do, deleting hard drives and text messages and, all of our suspicions are correct. It was, in fact, Connor Stalions on that Central Michigan sideline. And
so what do you – okay, right, you're right. And I don't think we ever had a doubt.
Right?
What are you going to do? The coach is gone. A lot of the players are gone. Usually when teams vacate something, it's because a player was ineligible. That's not the case here, so you're not going to do the Reggie Bush USC thing. So what do? You don't give Washington the title. You don't take away the national title. So the only thing I guess they could do is possibly hurt them with scholarships. I've seen that the postseason ban, they're not going to do that. They don't want to lose Michigan and all the eyeballs that watch them. What do you do if in fact, even some of these are true?
The hammer, and again, the notice of allegations means that this is what they believe to have found, and then there's a process after that. Allegations, not convictions, by the way. The hammer would be, like you said, postseason ban. I would say that's unlikely to happen.
Last time, remember we brought up like Oklahoma one year, Auburn one year, A&M one year. There's been a handful. That was mainly back in the 70s too.
I would say that scholarships are at risk and suspensions are at risk here.
The coaches?
Coaching.
Okay, yeah, Michigan played their last 3 regular season games last year without Jim Harbaugh.
Well, I mean, if you're going to suspend Sharon Moore, then the guy who was coaching for him is now suspended, and you're moving on further down that line. So it's probably
be a graduate assistant.
It'd probably be a bigger thing.
I don't think that the college football playoff will want to lose Michigan and the eyeballs because they are always among the highest watched team when they're on TV.
Yeah, and Michigan's going to fight this until they get to a point. Yeah. So that's the other problem with this is this could get tied up for a little bit of appealing. I think the genuine problem I have with it was Michigan is clearly caught. They're caught, right? And when they got caught last year, I understand not wanting to comment on it, but the narrative around it was like, well, everybody does this. Well, no. I mean, one, everybody doesn't. And two, if there's other people doing it, if they get caught, the same thing happens. But Smokey, you couldn't rob a convenience store and then go to court and be like, well, a lot of people do it. Like, yeah, but we caught you, so we're dealing with you. We'll deal with them later.
Yeah, so. I know that somebody brought up USC vacated a title like 2004, I think it was.
Reggie Bush.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Really, we've discussed, we've had conversations. You know who won it.
Yeah.
That would be like saying to take away a title. You know who won the national title. Now, if there's a bowl ban or a postseason ban, to me, that would be the biggest. Would you not agree, Garrett, that would be the biggest penalty? Scholarships, okay, that eventually could wear you down. But to me, you don't vacate a damn thing. It's stupid. But if you take them out of the postseason, that would hurt recruiting on top of that because they're not going to play in the national title playoffs.
Well, it's also like you're looking at a situation where you don't know the outcome of what's going to happen. So you don't know what you're going to interfere. So, yeah, I mean, to me, taking away wins from the past defeats all things.
No, I really will lose my mind if they vacate anything. I really will because it's Michigan's. It's not Washington's. So it's either Michigan or it's nobody. Okay, now with that. All right, number 9, Penn State at number 9. They're just kind of there, aren't they? But they always have that Ohio State or that Michigan hurdle, which, by the way, a lot of people would if they're in the same division with them. And number 10, the Florida State Seminoles.
I think that's about fair for them. I think that I look at their schedule and see 10-2 this year, given all that they've lost. But I think they have one of the better coaching staffs in the country. I think they're going to be downgraded at the major positions. They're not going to be as good at wide receiver. They're not going to be as good at quarterback, and they're not going to be quite as running back might be less able to notice. But Trey Benson was a stud for them, an absolute monster. So even though you may not notice it as much at running back because they've got better depth there than they did at those other positions, you'll see it. Where I think that it's going to be buoyed is that their offensive line is actually better this year than it was last year, and ranked number 1 in the ACC, as a matter of fact, which is something I never thought I would see again. So I think that's going to get them through. And then, of course, losing Jared Verse and Braden Fisk on defense and Renardo Green. Those are 3 guys. Okay, you just don't happen upon, but they'll be all right.
But they lose Jordan Travis too.
Yeah, I mean that's the big one.
All right, now the third 5, Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz and the Tigers right there at number 11. LSU, Garrett, at 12. That about right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see, honestly, putting them down a little further. You replace both offensive and defensive coordinators. You got to replace a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Your secondary was suspect. So, I mean, I think anywhere from 12 to about 20 is correct, personally.
Utah, the first Big 12 team mentioned. There are 5 of them mentioned among the top 25. Most of that stacked in the second half of it. Clemson at 14. Tennessee at 15. And then Oklahoma, which is about where I thought, at number 16 in the top 25 poll. Then you see the rest, 2 back-to-back Big 12 schools, K-State, Oklahoma State. There's Miami, A&M, Arizona, Big 12, NC State, USC, and then Kansas at 24, Iowa at 25. First time since 2009 that Kansas has been ranked inside the preseason coaches poll, back when they were coming off that nice run with Todd Reesing, is that right? Mm-hmm. And Mangino before all that blew up too. So there we are. SEC 9. That's the most ever. Or no, now think about this. 9's tied for the most ever. But you add Texas and Oklahoma into the mix, which you do. Tied for the most ever. That means another conference at one point, some other conference had 9 without realignment, where leagues are starting to get more compressed. Mm-hmm. So there we are. Big 10 with 6, Big 12 with 5, ACC had 4, and Notre Dame, the one independent. Let's see here. Others receiving votes. Let me see if anyone else. SMU's right outside the poll. Memphis, Metal. Boise State, West Virginia, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Right out, UT San Antonio. And there's teams that we discussed quite a bit. Colorado is also outside the top. How about Texas State and G.J. Kinney got a couple of votes. Tulane, and then again, there's a bunch of group of 5 schools on top of them that were right outside the top 25. Is there a group of 5 school in the top 25? No, there's not.
I think Memphis should be. I think that Boise State deserves it. Look, I'll tell you, above USC right now, I think they deserve it. I really do, because I don't think USC they're there at 23 instead of Memphis because they're USC and Memphis is Memphis. In their own conference, in the way that they stack up in their own conference, Memphis is Memphis, UTSA, Boise State. I'm going to leave some out here of group of 5 teams that all deserve to be ranked.
You guys
there.
count on your hand. Let me hear the group of 5, Paul. SMU?
SMU?
No.
No, they're ACC. Oh, no. Okay.
All right. Memphis.
Yes.
Boise State.
Yes.
Liberty.
I don't want to put Liberty in that argument because their schedule is crap.
Doesn't matter. They're a group of 5.
Yeah, they are.
So, they have. Oh my God, UCF fans, you need to contact USA Today, even though they're a sponsor.
Yeah.
Because they put Central Florida as receiving votes. UT San Antonio.
Yeah.
Appalachian State.
Yep.
Texas State. Tulane. Air Force. James Madison. Miami of Ohio. Troy. Just a whole bucket load of them in that others receiving votes.
Miami, Ohio's got one of the best defenses in the country, by the way. And all those certainly deserve, again, I'm not trying to crap all over USC here, but based on what's recently happened to me, they're a little bit out of it. And I would put a team like Memphis especially in above them because they're going to finish with a better record. Now, are they going to be, number 2 in the country? No, but I think Memphis, given the fact their schedule, yes, will be easier, but they play a tough non-con sched, and they've got a good quarterback, they've got a good defense, they got good things going on there at Memphis under Ryan Silverfield. I think that they were worthy of a ranking to start out the year, but I don't have.
Are you dating Metal now or something?
No,
Are you wanting to date him?
Yeah.
All right. But they seem to be getting a lot of love, and it would be great if they have. All right, now, at 4:45, Michael Ford is the U.S. Olympic sprint coach for the U.S. Olympic track and field team. And here is the overhead view of the Noah Lyles 100-meter. And when I text Michael Ford last night, and it was pretty late into the evening because they're 7 hours ahead. So right now it is 10:30 in France, somewhere around that time. And I said, hey, could you come on tomorrow? And we're trying to figure out the time change. This was amazing. He told me earlier today also, it's the first time that everybody in the 100-meter Olympic final ran a sub-10, like a 9.9 or better. Everybody, look how close everybody is, and it's because of Noah Lyles' chest. His chest, his upper body, his torso was the difference in beating Thompson from what is always a very competitive and really good, of course, with what Usain Bolt, among others, with Jamaica. Unbelievable final. Unbelievable final.
One of the most fun things I've ever watched in my life. And it lasted 9.7 seconds. Yeah. And you know what I find is amazing about something that lasts 9.7 seconds? If you ask all those guys who ran it 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, they're like, damn it, I could have been faster. And you're like, how?
Yeah.
Like one guy's been faster.
We've always talked about this. If you and I could physically do one thing athletically, what would it be? Would it be able to run fast once or be able to jump, and actually truly dunk a basketball? Mm-hmm. Oh. Which would it be?
Oh man, it's like asking 12-year-old me if you can go in the room with Kathy Ireland or Cindy Crawford, what do you would do? There's no bad choice for me here. I would rather run fast, I think.
I saw Cindy Crawford on an infomercial the other day. She's still doing well.
Running fast, to me, would be a more useful skill than dunking a basketball. Outside,
no, it would be exhilarating.
Yeah, it would be more like, as much as I would love to dunk a basketball, if I could run really fast, and not even world record time, if I could just be
fast,
sub 11 seconds, I'd be fine. I think that would make me happier than jumping higher. Although both of them I would feel better about myself as a human being either way.
All right, I'm going to go back to the chat, and we're going to go back to the 100 meters, but we have a rule on this show, and I saw a couple of you break it. Like, well, so-and-so should have been in the top 25. Paul mentioned Memphis, But he also mentioned they would replace USC for him. So it's a top 25. It's not a top 29 or 32. So if you have a team you think should be in the top 25, give us the name if you want, but also tell us who should come out. So there's the overhead view. Unbelievable. When the race finished, the United States NBC broadcast basically said Thompson had won. Michael Johnson was working for the BBC. He said that Lyles won. And how could anyone have how could you have tell?
Well,
Lyles, I think, even thought that Thompson had won based on what he said to him when they were waiting for a picture
you
to show
got me
up.
on the lean.
Yeah,
That's what he told
yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah.
And Thompson's huge,
He's a big man.
by the way. Like,
if he was at the NFL Combine, the drool factor would be 10 out of 10.
Okay. If you were like, I'm watching yesterday, and all I could think about was our friend, the late, great Gil Brandt, watching Thompson and going, you think I could?
Yeah.
You think I could convince him?
Yeah, like-
it's different now. Like, Bob Hayes was probably easier to convince because he's like, hey, now that you can't be an amateur sprinter anymore where you made no money, how'd you like to come play football? Well, all the guys, Noah Lyles, all the medalists in that event are now set for life.
Yep.
So if they want to do something like that, it's just because they're like, all right, I'd like to try it.
I think like an Olympic gold medalist might get $30,000 to $50,000 or whatever. Used to be nothing. You got to pull. Now it's the endorsement factor that he gets the rest of the way.
So if I'm Gil Brandt now, if I'm Gil Brandt reincarnated, which would be a wonderful thing if that could happen, but if I'm Gil Brandt reincarnated, after I found my free breakfast buffet and I went out to watch it, I would not be so enamored with number one, but like the guys who didn't qualify, but they're still fast as hell.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I'd try to pick off.
Well, I mean, the guys, the athletes, the way they're cut,
like
Thompson
if you're the 25th,
is an animal.
If you're the 25th fastest guy in the world, I want you on my team.
Yeah. All right, here's a note about Noah Lyles that I knew some of his story, but I didn't know this part of it. Asthma, allergies, dyslexia, ADD, anxiety, and depression. Now, I can check off 3 of those 5. I used to have asthma. I used to have allergies. I am absolutely ADD. Luckily, anxiety only happens when I just have a lot on my plate, and I have rarely ever, I think, gotten myself in the point where I'm depressed. So look at all of what he has battled to get to where he is, and he probably still has that on a daily basis because a lot of that comes with you and stays with you for the rest of your life.
My allergies are terrible. The last time I was 18 years old that I got what they call the prick test where they, it's a horrible name. But they make little, poke your arm with a needle and then like put little drops of whatever you might be allergic to. They put like 50 of them on your arms. You have to hold it like this for 30 minutes.
I've never heard of that. I've heard of a shot.
So that's how they figure out what to give you a shot for.
Okay.
So they're like, we have a lot to make for you. There's only like 3 things on the whole dots that didn't do anything. I also have anxiety, and depression might be a stretch, but I have anxiety. That's for damn sure. You know that. It is, if you take one of those things, like allergies and asthma alone for somebody who needs to breathe, that's better than all of us because he's running so fast. That
I haven't had allergies in forever. When I lived in East Texas with all the pine trees, do you know
he reminded me of when I heard that story about asthma? Was Teddy Roosevelt almost died when he was a child of asthma, and through sheer force of will, like grew up and overcame it.
That's unbelievable.
Like Noah Lyles, like you have to have some will to do that.
For someone like me who's claustrophobic, having anything when I have a head cold, it can get me a little bit shaky. Now, Scotty Sheffler. Wow. So I'm playing golf yesterday morning, and I get a text from Paul. It's around 11 o'clock or whenever they're winding down, and he gets emotional. He said Scotty Sheffler is leading, and Fleetwood just bogeyed 17 that put Sheffler up 1. Sheffler shot a 60-2. Fleetwood then could not birdie 18 to force any kind of playoff. Scotty Sheffler has won the Masters. The Players. He also won the Olympic gold, not to mention he's won a ton of tournaments. Schauffele had the 2 majors, But what a year for Scotty Sheffler.
Scotty had some high finishes, like top 10 finishes as well in big tournaments. What a year. But I was texting you and you're like, oh, man, of all the things in the Olympics you should be watching, it's this. It was one of those things where just country by country, if you were American, English, Spanish, Japanese, Irish, maybe a couple others I'm leaving out, but any of those countries watching your golfer go, whether it was John Rahm, who was dominating for a while, or it was Fleetwood, or Rory played really well, and then Schauffele and Scotty for the Americans. Matsuyama was the bronze medalist from Japan. It was exhilarating to watch because coming around the turn, that's where Rahm and Schauffele hit the wall, and Scotty Sheffler just full Scottied and went nuts, and it was great to watch.
He hit it about 20 feet on one, birdied that, and eventually that just opened the floodgates for him.
And then Tommy Fleetwood had that bogey, and then when his tee shot was just not in the right place to get a birdie on 18, and you just kind of felt it then. But they kept showing Scotty Sheffler, on the range, and he's trying to drive, but when you're like, just miss this putt, and I'm the gold medalist, just miss this putt, you knew what he was thinking. It was great.
Last week, and thanks to Retired Stockbroker for sending this to me yesterday. Craig is out again, as we've mentioned a couple of times, on vacation throughout the week. He asked last week, during an Off the Radar, is there any, I thought he brought up some kind of, is there a bump when you host the Olympic Games? And I said, there is a bump. There's no question there's a bump. Now, I didn't have any evidence, but I felt like there was because you have all the facilities, the training, the money. It's probably better in some countries that otherwise is still pretty good, but not as good. Here was a screen grab. China, the year they hosted the Olympic Games, won 100 medals. The average, the two previous were 61. Great Britain up 24. Brazil up a couple. Japan up 18. France, I think now it's much more than 44. They're up and probably will have a good 12, 15, or 18 more than they had when they hosted when they're hosting Olympic Games compared to the last two Olympic Games.
Well, 1/11 of those 44 medals were won by one guy, and Leon Marchand, who was at Arizona State, but God, he torched everybody. He was unbelievable to watch. So, but yeah, it's been certainly, like, if you're going to host the Olympics, which is, we're leading the medal count right now, and we were even at least this morning with China when it came to golds. 2028 in LA, we should lose nothing based on the same growth. We should clean sweep it. Even sports we don't play.
The United States men's swimming team, they did win, I think, overall the two they won 8 medals or whatever it was, or 8 gold. They for them. It
was 8-7 America versus Australia combined, both.
Yeah, and for them, I mean, but there's no what do you call it? What's his guy? What's the one who won?
No Michael Phelps.
No Michael Phelps, among some others. But the women's, Ledecky and them, the women dominated with what they did. All right, so today, Jason Shear around the corner from Arizona, from Wildcat Authority. His thoughts about the Wildcats a week into their fall camp, and then a couple other notes. And did he really kind of just enjoy Friday, the official day of the 4 Pac-12 schools joining the Big 12? We'll have Adam Rittenberg, Pat Smith, Michael Ford joins us. I just got a question from somebody on the website, and I think it was in maybe even Thursday or Friday. Tim Brando was going to be on with us last week. He was sick, and he kind of kept on, just couldn't get over it. He texted me back and forth yesterday. I think he will be locked in for tomorrow. And also had a good conversation with Phil Bennett on Friday. He left to go to California for a week and a half. When he's back, he will be on with us and start the run during our football season coverage. All right, we appreciate you. Where are we right now with the subscriptions? I thought it was at 57,000.
57.2.
57.2. Thank you very much. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't. I've never understood if we could have 150 or 400 people online viewing and there's like 29 like. Please, if you don't mind, hit the like and subscribe button. And I know that I need to refresh my screen on occasion there, too.
Those are harder to get. Views are like the dogs of it, who are loyal to you and enjoy you walking in the room. The likes, to me, are like the cats, where you've got to earn maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, cats can be very
You got to earn it with a cat.
Yeah. And by the way, what would it be like to be a pole vaulter?
I mean, it's not all bad news for him.
What's Emery laughing at?
It's not all bad news.
I didn't say anything.
I'm just saying.
I just said, what would it be like to be a pole vaulter?
So for the guy that you're talking about, it's maybe not the best way for everybody to find out, but it's still, I mean, it's not the worst.
He ought to be from like China or Japan, like hung low or hung high or hung large or whatever his name would be.
That is going to get us so canceled. So canceled.
What was wrong with what I said? Those are some real names.
Yeah, but no, it just, well, right. No, I would rather.
Really? Do I need to apologize?
I don't know. What if he I would rather lose the pole vault because of that, and instead of losing a race because I couldn't get my torso over the line. Yeah, whatever's going on there. But it's just the worst way to tell everybody that you're endowed.
Boy, that video was that was something else. All right, at least I was told that. When we come back, Jason Shear and this